Hi everybody, welcome to art class. Good to see everyone. We are going to be starting some projects today on color. So before we get started, if you want to gather some materials, what I'm going to be using today are watercolors. You can use watercolors. If you don't have watercolors, you can use markers, some markers. And if you don't have markers, you can use crayons. Hi, so we're going to start today by creating a sheet for ourselves to use as a reference. So when we're creating our art with our rainbow order, we have the right order of color. In your packet on the Google Doc, I did add one of these printouts, which you're welcome to print out, or you can look at it online, just as a reference to show you the order that the colors go on the color wheel. So I created my own little painting here of the color wheel based on the acronym ROY G BiV. So ROY G BiV. Now, some of you may remember that it has ROY for red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and sometimes indigo and violet. For many of our paints or our markers, they don't have indigo. And indigo is like a purpley blue. So for this project, we're not going to use indigo. We're just going to use the 7 colors that we see here, which are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. So what I'd like you to do is collect your materials. We're going to start with either watercolors, you could start with crayons, you could also start with some markers. But for me, I'm going to start with some watercolor today. I have a cup of water, my brush, which I'm going to get wet. I have a pencil or a marker to work with. Actually, I think I have a pencil over here. And I looked around my house for some shapes that I could use to paint in, because my one that I did here, I actually made my shapes out of tracing this fun little Post-it note. So I went around, I wanted to do a different shape today for this demonstration. So I found a little box of candies, and there's a little jar of paint. So I think I'm going to do, I think I'm going to use this little box to trace. So why don't you go and grab your materials and get set up. Oh, and don't forget a couple of pieces of paper, and we'll start together. Okay, so got my materials together. I'm going to do watercolor today. I have a cup of water with my brush. I have a little shape that I'm going to trace, a piece of paper, and a pencil to start with. So I'm using this little square piece of candy box because I know I can fit 6 of these on my paper pretty easily. I saw before that I had used the Post-it notes. You could also use a little thing of paint. Anything that you can find around a house, a cool shape that you like. If you have a tracer you want to use, great, use the tracer. Anything just to make a shape that we can paint in. And we're going to need 6 of these shapes because we are going to be creating ROY G BiV, a color wheel in this order. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. We need 6 shapes. So I made a dot in the middle of my paper, and I'm going to trace 6 of them. And we're going to label each of them. So the first one is going to be R for red. So the first one I'm going to do is my red, and I'm just going to build my color wheel. And I always start by outlining my shape first. Now you need to wake up the paint. We've talked about this before. This paint's been sitting, so it's kind of dry and hasn't woken up yet. So I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to add a little bit of water on my brush. And then I'm going to keep it on its tippy toe while I spin it around. We're going to twirl, twirl, twirl around in our paint. And then we're going to color. The more twirlies you do, the darker your color is going to be. And I'm going to go back and reload. And then I'm going to fill in my red one. Okay, good. Oh, I got a couple little spots here. Now, I'm going to rinse off my brush. I'm going to rinse my brush, tap it a couple times, rinse, tap, and then I'm going to use this little paper towel just to get some of that off there so I know it's nice and clean. My next color is orange. On the tippy toe, twirl, 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 and then we're going to outline. So we get our shape. A little more water on there to wake it up, wakey, wakey, and then we're going to fill this in. And I'm going to use kind of a long stroke. Okay. Make sure we get that all colored. Rinse, blot, onto the yellow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. That is the order that you're going to have for your colors when we do the next few projects. So you can move on to the next video and use this as your reference, and that'll be great. You could also do it, like I said, you could do it with your crayons or your markers, whatever works best for you. So I'm going to put my color wheel to the side and start our next project.